This is the Long War. I'm Rob Baer, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher and Mike Haspel. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Greetings and felicitations.
I had on the show notes that we should do a quick segment called "What's New in Your World," because
Yeah.
there was a G-Dub rep for a number of years back in the late '90s and early 2000s. They every time he called up a store, that's what he would say. He's like, "What's new in your world?" It was fun. It was a fun time. It was a magical time.
Yes. It's fun.
So what's new in your world?
Mm. At the risk of outing myself and costing me work, I have joined the USPSA and I had my first match, which, yeah, I got a long way to go. Let me just put it that way. I didn't get DQ'd. So that was a good goal for my first match. But yeah, I did all right on the first classifier, and then I did the last match kind of ruined the last course of fire kind of ruined the whole match for me. But I'm not taking it personally. I'm just like, it was like it if you had just listened to it, right, it sounded baller. Like all my splits were on everything, and I was just like, I ended it. They're like show clear, holster. I holstered, and then we like start scoring the targets and it was awful. And I was like, but it sounded and looked cool as shit. And it was just like Mike, Charlie, Mike, no shoot. I was like, fuck.
Damn.
Yeah, but it was a
Mm.
lot of fun, and it was definitely, but I've definitely got a lot of work to do. Um so that's new in my world. And then 40k wise, GW may be messing up on Grey Knight combat patrol boxes because I'm not letting that go.
Hmm. Tell us
But
how you really
they
feel.
they are fucking killing it on the lore. There
Yeah.
is a show on Warhammer TV called Kill Lupercal,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah. The
they're on the
animation.
like yeah they're on like the second episode, just dropped or whatever. It's about a princeps in a Titan, um, that is heading out during the siege of Terra, and it is phenomenal. And one of her best lines in that is they're telling her that the Titan is already damaged, and her Magos comes up and says the odds of surviving, or the time of a Titan in our condition surviving combat is 28 minutes. And she just turns and goes, then we'll fight for 28 minutes. And I was just like, that is so freaking awesome. The whole show is very good.
Hmm.
Very good.
Damn, that's
Very
sick.
pumped for it.
The intro that they were or a preview trailer looked really good.
It's very good. It's very,
Hmm.
very good. The
Damn.
writing is on point.
I need to
I
fucking
wish
log. I
they
need to
would
log into
show.
that shit. And take a like. I don't. I have all these accounts, but I hardly ever log in and look at this stuff.
Oh yeah, this is really good. And it's my only complaint was that it was too short. I was just like, oh, come on, it can't be over already.
It's just
Because
it costs so much to make those, you
dude,
know.
that was the other complaint I had, which is not a complaint really, is that it's taking place during the siege of Terra. So I wanted to just see the stuff that they
Hmm.
describe in the books, but then I realized, I'm like, yeah, we shot 30 seconds of the actual siege of Terra, and that's our entire budget. Like it's like we're done.
Basically.
Sadness.
Yeah. What's new with you, Kenny?
Uh, bro, playing Diablo 2.
Back to Diablo 2.
Which is funny because earlier Rob was like, I never know what this guy's gonna say, but I'm like, if you listen, it's always the same. Diablo. I'm fucking around. Playing a little Diablo 2 because it was like the 25th year anniversary and there's some exciting
Ooh.
news and there's a new
No.
season,
It's the 5th year
fifth
anniversary.
year anniversary. Yeah, and so like a new ladder just dropped, so I've been just like playing some barbarian action, just relaxing, playing
Dope.
video games.
Yeah, how
But
many discs did you have to
bro,
does that
I
come
have
on to
bought that battle
install?
chest so many times in my life, like over the years. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, bro, it downloads in like 20 seconds, bro. It's like
You don't have to like put 5 discs in your computer to install it.
No, and it's so wild, Mike, because I'm playing obviously Diablo 2 Resurrected,
Right, right.
and it's like I forgot how because I played the closed beta, the open beta, season 0 launch of that. It's so phenomenal, bro. Like I'm back playing it. Like, oh my god, it hits still. Like the graphics compete with like PoE 2 that just dropped. You know what I mean? Like it's just so good, and it's like my safe place. Hearing that like Tristram guitar strum in the background, I'm just like, this is my safe place.
Yeah.
Just have
Yeah.
this playing.
I hear
Like,
you. I see you online some of the times when we're playing COD.
oh yeah, I see you on there all the time. I was playing with Matt and my man Al last night. We were just all playing together, doing like whatever. And we're
Mhm.
like, isn't this just like the best fucking game ever? And we're all like, yeah, man, it straight up is. Like we just couldn't stop, dude. So that's what's up. Nerding
Dang.
out. But wait, so let's take a look at the show notes that Rob sent us. What went wrong with 10th edition? And how can 11 fix it? Which is a pretty compelling show
It's
title. It's not even.
yeah.
The thing is, it's worded so strongly, but I guess they're really not. Like, it's if you really just think about like 10th, most people agree that 10th is playable. It's all right. You know what I mean? It's like it's
Mhm.
fine, but like when you say things are fine, it's never really that tight, right? Like it's fine. So why, how? We've got some topics. Anybody in chat who's listening to this show production live, feel free to throw out some Q&As or
Mhm.
comments or criticisms. Tag me in them. Like maybe like capital Q, capital A, or something like that. I'll try to copy and paste them, see if we can get to them at the end of the show.
Eggplant emojis.
Eggplant emojis always work. But before we get to all that, let's kick it over to Rob and let's figure out what's going on in the news.
Yeah, it's actually been there's been a lot going on lately. Usually there's a bit of a lull headed into Gen Con, as not as many people are putting out news and such because they're waiting for their big product announcements and stuff. But yeah, there's been quite a bit happening. So let's start at the top. That just came through a couple hours ago. Frontline Gaming is announced a prize support program for um, local game stores where they can basically get branded merchandise for like either just a casual game night or like a bigger event
Oh,
at
it's
their
like the old. That's
stores.
like the old days, bro.
Yeah, it's kind of almost like, and along with free price support too, depending on the size of the event, blah blah blah. There's a whole sign up form. You can check it out or tell your local game store to check it out. But there's one of the parts is they're kind of doing this like golden ticket thing for free tickets to LVO. And a lot of the details look like they're still getting get worked on here. But that's really cool because you've already got the golden ticket thing with the grand narrative, Games Workshop and stuff, and but having something like that for another event too gives you know folks another thing to go to, which I think is really neat and something out there that working with stores instead of making them buy like all the same little kit, like kind of Games Workshop does, and it's usually something very small and not as meaningful, I guess. It's not like the old days, Haspel. Remember the big old Rogue Trader like awards, like the
Oh yeah.
Griffin or
Hardware,
like
dude.
yeah, the
I've
hardware.
got
Yeah.
I've got four, maybe 4 or 5 of those of the ones with the crossed, the Warhammer
Mm-hmm.
and the chainsword.
They've got the
Oh
one that's
yeah, it
they've
was
got the
like
one
a
that's like
plaque.
the Inquisitor
Yeah,
with
I've
the
got those,
hammer.
but I always wanted the one that was like the little hill with the guys on top.
Oh
Like
Oh
dude.
if I which
yeah.
was only for like first place, it was always best overall. And
Mm-hmm.
I could never get that because Ron played it gamer saving.
Yeah, Ron Santoni. This guy.
This
Yeah,
guy.
I think they only did that one for a couple. Like they
Yeah.
did the rest of
The
them
shoe
for
was limited,
num.
bro. Somebody showed me the
Yeah.
other day on my show from like the bunk, like whatever games day, whatever year, the giant Necron Lord.
Oh yeah.
Like they had
Huh.
it. It was Mo's Magic. He posted it up on Whips. It's in our Discord server. I was like,
Oh,
oh
cool.
my god, I forgot about this, bro. This is like so
Mhm.
exclusive, bro. It's like all
Yeah.
that shit, dude. The nostalgia, dude.
Yep.
But
They're
yeah,
out there.
so Frontline Gaming is
Yeah,
running into
bringing it back.
Some of that stuff
something
back.
like this that we all grew up
Yes.
with, which makes sense because we're all moving into our gamer dad era, our arc, you know, and we're
Right.
bringing back the things that were there that got us hype and involved, which I think is interesting because it's bringing it back to basics. Like it's like the hit. It's a hit, bro. It works. The local community at the local game
Yeah.
stores, like bringing these people in and getting them excited with these strategies that historically are the fucking most successful strategies. I love it. I think hats off to them.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good idea. So so that's a thing. So if you're a local game store and you run a lot of these events, definitely hit them up about it. And there might even be an email in your inbox right now about it. There's just a quick little Google survey to fill out and get more information on that. Um, I did want to mention Game Envy hit me up. They mentioned that they're selling the Art of Mini series by Dave Taylor. There's like well over a dozen of these books, but they're basically coffee table books that show incredibly painted miniatures from specific artists, so you can kind of like dive into their particular styles and things. Dave himself has a book just on a lot of his like old school converted armies that he cataloged very well. That one's out of stock, unfortunately, but all the other books are there, and you can pick them up from Game MV. He also does the distribution for Dave as well. So if you're looking to pick up any of those books, I think they're $42 over at the Game MV website. We did an article on it too. You can click through from there as well. But yeah, they're definitely very well done. He's run a bunch of these Kickstarters. Everybody seems very hype and very excited about them every time they drop. So no telling who's going to do next, feature wise, but I'm sure there'll be some good artists coming up in the next series whenever he decides to put those out. There's been a little bit of chatter about a potential GW preview at Tacoma Open I think it's next weekend. No, it's the 16th, so it's not next weekend, but we still got a couple of weeks. There was like one line in the actual website, and it could just be a cut and paste error from the Dallas preview that was canceled last second, and of course Gen Con was canceled last year last second. They kind of phoned in the whole like preview. What was it, Nova Open? Oh no, the one during the championships was really phoned in. It was just them talking and not showing any pictures. I forget who it was from the studio, but it was rather lackluster to say the least. But we got some bangers lately. The last one was pretty good. But I don't know. I think personally, me, Rob Baer speaking here, I think there's just a lot of people out there with nothing to talk about right now, and folks seem to be grabbing on to little things that they see and not necessarily kind of thinking it through. And a lot of folks on YouTube that you have to stay relevant on YouTube, you have to put a video out every day, and and you basically have to say the same things over and over, and which is great, but you also have to come up with new things to talk about too. And I think YouTube is a valuable part of this community, and I think we're spoiled as hobbyists and stuff too. But I think there's just a lot of folks saying a lot of things out there that might not necessarily be true. And when you start digging into it, you can kind of see, like, to me, it just looks like a cut and paste there on Games Workshop's part, because there's nothing in the schedule. There's no other mention in the tickets or anywhere else in there that this is happening, but it might still happen. But me personally, I think it's a cut and paste error, but it wouldn't be the first time that hey, maybe there is something
What's the
happening
error?
there. It literally just says that there's sneak peeks. There's no other, but there's no other indication anywhere else on that whole website, in the schedule, nowhere, nada. There's nothing. So
you're zoning on one little thing and make it the news cycle, essentially.
I mean, and that's great because we did an article on it too. Like, hey, this might be real, but it's probably not.
It's the nature of how
Players got to eat.
Yeah, no. Oh, believe me, I'm a hungry hippo when
it's
it
hard
comes
out
to
here, bro.
when it comes to writing. So don't get me wrong, but I think as we see this hobby progress and get more popular and explode in interest, I think you know, it would behoove all of us to take a step back from things and just kind of take a quick look and fact check some stuff, and just be
Well,
like,
it's
man, I
impossible
don't
though.
know.
That's the thing. It's like it's a hype train, bro. Like that's how
Yeah.
It really
it
is.
can't
It
stop it,
really
dude. Like the
is.
thing is everyone is thirsty for anything to like. It doesn't matter if it's true at that point. It's just a way to pass time. I'm
So
sitting
even
here
engage.
bored.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here
Exactly.
bored, and I read some nonsense that's 99% probably not true. But like, bro, it's like this. It has haven't we all fantasized about winning the lottery?
Sure.
And then also taking the fantasy a step further and started really thinking about what I do with the money. Like, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like you put more than a cursory thought into, man, it'd be sick if I won the lottery, it'd fix all my problems. No.
Am I the only one who has the thought like afterwards, like I probably shouldn't win the lottery?
See, he
It's
goes
good to
deep.
have.
He did a whole
Yeah.
story, a whole narrative. He went all the way to the end game, and he was like,
Yep.
nah.
That's
It's
probably not good
But
for
you know what I mean? It's
humanity
just a
as
way to
whole.
pass time, bro. It's just
Yeah.
it's you can't stop anything like that. And
it's
nobody cares. They're having fun, fantasizing about the stuff,
yeah. I guess maybe me personally, sometimes I get a little bitter over
Yeah,
the stuff that
you like the fact check stuff, and you have like
well, we report things. We report things in a lot of cases. If it's a rumor, we say it's a rumor. If we're not sure, we'll say it's not. We're not sure. If it's true, we're coming at you with the facts. And I think a lot of times people are like, "Well, I didn't hear that from my guy over here." Well, dog, your guy over here doesn't even know what facts are. Like, you know, and I got a lot of that for that. Um, the whole court case. Which, by the way, on the court case side of things, Games Workshop has until the 8th of July to straight go after people now, like taking them to the cleaners. So it might get real out there. The judge straight up told them, okay, well, you served everybody. And some people went ahead and said, nah, we're disputing this. But everybody else that didn't check in, you can go after them now. But we need these things in a certain order, and they have to be done a certain way, or else don't do it. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens next week on that, because we're talking like big time stuff might be happening here. Like I'm really interested to see what they go after these folks for. But that's a next week's problem. So yeah. Anyways, so new free miniature of the month after the 5th. So of course after the holiday weekend, you can go into your Games Workshop store. They've got a new Jackal model. The guys with the metal feet. Yeah.
Jackal?
Jackal. They look cool.
they do. I was like blown away, man, when I saw those.
The whole they cut their legs off, and that's wild. Okay.
It's metal.
Yeah, it's pretty metal. So those are coming out. They'll be free at Games Workshop stores. And then they also have a Horus Heresy coin. We all know Horus Heresy's coming out this month.
Yeah.
That's pretty much going to happen. The curious thing is that we don't quite know the price yet, but it's going to be at least $300 by the conversion. Yeah, it's going to be wild. Horus Heresy Thursdays was a staple for a number of years for previews for what's coming out on the Horus Heresy front. They killed it today on a Wednesday. They killed Horus Heresy Thursday. They said, "Hey, we got some stuff coming out. We're gonna, you obviously know about Boarding Marines. We've got Custodes, the book coming out after the big release, and the Fellblade and things. But yeah, we don't have enough on the release horizon to keep doing a Horus Heresy Thursday. So they're going to be shifting into something else. Not exactly sure. And it's when Games Workshop actually comes out and says something concrete, you really have to listen and read between the lines to what they're saying, because there's a lot to be gleaned from what they say and what they don't say. So definitely go and read that post thoroughly. I haven't quite finished my editorial on it, but it's got some tells in there that are very curious, in my opinion. But we'll see where that one goes. All right. So also something else pretty cool that just came out this week. Monument Hobbies announced that they're taking tubes to another level. So they're getting rid of the little texture tubs, which I have one over there out of arm reach. But the little texture tubs with the screw-on cap, they're getting rid of those, and they're going to the same size, but in a tube, an artist tube, which will obviously be much bigger. Which is really interesting because if you think about it, textures, it kind of makes sense, I guess. Now, you probably can't like maybe you can. I don't know. You guys correct me if I'm wrong here, but I probably wouldn't be squirting out a texture like snow or like some grit onto a base from a tube. I think you still have to like put it on a palette and then brush it on with like or a little
No, I would
scraper.
totally directly go on there.
You just go
I would just dump this
just
shit right
they
on.
tube it up,
Bro.
Well, I like the little I'm a sucker for the GW textured paints that you use the little palette, not palette,
the spreader.
the little spreader thing. I
Yeah,
freaking adore that. So I totally would be like toothpaste on the directly on the base, and then use that little I don't remember the technical term.
No, I think they called it a spreader. It looked like it was a plastic and it had like a
dude.
it had like a flat, it looked like a long spatula basically.
Yeah, it's
it might have just been called the texture tool or something like that.
It's like a spatula
probably
kind of thing, but it's like I'm a sucker for that. So I would totally directly go right on the base because I'm like a barbarian like that. I will just fucking uncouth, uncivilized, like directly on there.
So my thing with bases, and I think Kenny might have talked about this too at some point, is I personally don't like the texture. Like I don't want it to look like the models are like sinking into it. Like I want it to look like they're standing on top of it, but that's very hard to do because you glue them to the base and then you put the texture around it. So technically it's already a little bit raised, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like how do you get her like what do you do for that then? Like because you're just like, no, they sunk in.
Yeah, they sunk in because I use like I use a lot of like mud. I don't do like the concrete stuff. I use a lot of the mud texture and everything. And if you've got like a 800-pound Marine in power armor or whatever, he's sinking in.
It's also just the fastest way to do it.
You augment it with the grass tufts and whatever. It looks really good and it's cheap.
Okay,
and it's actually
it's
like really fast, right? Like if you have all your guys already glued to their bases, you've got a model holders, you're painting them. The last step, because a lot of people they like to do all the basing and then prime it, and then in the end they paint the bases, but the whole time they had the texture on there. It's like no, if you have like a colored texture paint, you lay it on there. I mean, you're like a dry brush and a tuft of grass away.
Yeah, that's like half the work,
bro. It's like that's it. It's done.
Yeah,
it's fast.
I agree with you there.
Which is number one why I do it that way.
Mm-hmm. But I understand they're never going to stand on top of it when you do that, unless you put the guy already on a tactical rock.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
He's on a
tactical rock and cork. Cork plays a big.
And then you can build. So that's it. But
dry brush cork is secret weapon.
The right cork.
Yep.
Like,
it looks slate stuff
has to be like has to be those tight corks, man. Like can't be those janky ones.
Nobody wants a janky cork.
No, because it just looks like a dry brush cork.
Thomas Dill says lazy. I'm like, bro, you don't even know.
I will.
You don't.
Lazy but good.
Do you remember the era of nids and dipping? Because I'm all about that shit.
That's what put Army Painter on the map, basically.
Yeah, I am all about dipping.
Yep. Yeah, those
you want painting awards for your dipped armies.
I did win painting awards for dipped armies.
Yep.
Huge fan of
that. What else we got here? So yeah, that's fun. That's so that'll be interesting to see how big these things actually are. Because I mean, if you're watching live, I think the tubs. I mean, they're not small. I mean, this thing's about 2.5 inches tall, and it's definitely about 2 inches round. So,
that looks like know what that reminds me about. That reminds me of the Vallejo textured stuff. That's like it's like resin almost. That's mixed because when you open it, you have to make sure it's sealed when you close it again, or you'll lose the whole tub.
Yeah, that's always I always put mine these the threads are pretty good on this, so I haven't had a problem with these, but all the stuff before the monument ones didn't it's very hard to get the screw cap back on. So
yeah,
bro, my monument one is glued on sometimes, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Oh really?
I popped a blood vessel on stream once opening that motherfucker.
Oh geez.
But
yeah, you're but
I'm a savage. So. I don't keep eating
Yeah, I
my
guess
shit
there's
clean, so
that'll do it. Well, maybe this tube thing's better for you.
I'm down for a tube for sure.
Down for the tubes.
Yeah, like you said, I don't like spreading. Just will dump it right on. Bro, I primed something by hand the other day, like this night base. And I was like, we're gonna prime it by hand because I don't want to pull the airbrush out. And I just like started squirting the primer on the base, just like out of the bottle. And it just I started spreading it out. It's like, yeah, same.
The stuff you do and actually make work it's entertaining to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, like I don't know. Let me just grab some browns off my desk.
Yeah, he gives people false confidence though, because they see Kenny do it, and then they go, "I can do that," and then it's like, "No, you can't." Kenny's like world class painter. It's like he can get away with a lot of shit.
It's not like I mean, it's not as bad as like Sam Lenz. I mean, I've seen Sam Lenz use like a paintbrush from a couch cushion, like where like it forms like a pitchfork that he bought at like Walmart and like apple barrel paints and create a golden demon.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like okay, you can't teach what he has.
No,
that's a different level. Speaking of different level, all right. What else we got here? Oh, so this was interesting. So Acid House Terrain, they did I guess they did it's basically like some really cool terrain. It came flat packed. I guess they were one of the first people with this idea. It isn't necessarily pop up, but it goes together. It's folded. It goes together very easily and it's very strong. Like you can push down on it and stuff. Uh, they announced yesterday that basically it's just like, you know what? This shit's hard. and I don't want to do it anymore. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but my health, my family comes first. Having all the things you have to do. Basically, I mean, nowadays he's not wrong. Like you have to be omnipresent out there to get any sort of share of the voice. You have to do, all your marketing, all your customer service, your product development, everything. It's very hard to do and we're not in it's such a crowded space now. We're not where we used to be, so I get it. And he kind of said, hey, this has been wearing on me. There's been a lot of difficulties, especially now with all the tariff situation that's always in flux. I don't blame them. So definitely wishing the best. You can check out their store over there for really great terrain sets. They got everything, I think, starting at 30% off right now while it lasts. I mean, they might go up in discounts just to get rid of it. I'm not sure, but now's the time to get in some really good terrain for at least 30% off right now. So check that out. It's Acid House Terrain announcing their shutdown. And then GW today announced a new series of Warhammer heroes, previously Space Marine heroes. They are going to feature green plastic Marines with tabards. They're not Dark Angels. They're green plastic Marines with tabards that you can paint up to be any color you want. Doesn't have to be green, but they are green.
Are they Army Men green?
No, they're Dark Angels green.
Oh. I would be like, you know what? I will buy those if they come in a big, like, big old pack of Army Men Marines.
Oh, there you go.
They're all monocasted already on a base.
No, it's
with a guy with binoculars and
in the bazooka.
A bazooka.
The guy crawling. I forgot about that guy.
Oh yeah, the guy crawling. Yeah. No, these are it's the typical blind box deal. There's like eight packs to a thing. They end up being like
I actually dug those, man, because I wound up buying a bunch of those Space Marine heroes because they were that tactical Marine that was slightly bigger than they were, like in between the tactical Marines and the Primaris.
Like new wave, yeah. Modern.
Yeah, those stuff. Yes, the series 1 and 2 were slightly bigger, and then the last series 4 was the blue new poses for Kill Team. Series 5 is Stormcast. Series 6 is these new ones, which are a whole other set of poses, but they got tabards. So yeah, they're ETB blind box. They're cool. They're
I
cool.
like them because when I go to the store, I try to buy something. Whenever I go there, and that's a good, like, usually it's BattleTech, like a random ass mech, but that gives me, I can always use a freaking Space Marine.
So. Yeah.
Right. Who can't? And then another thing that I thought was pretty cool. There's a game called Card War that Modifius is putting out on Kickstarter. Now, apparently, it was an existing game. They might have purchased their license from somebody else. They didn't really say. It doesn't matter. But basically, it's BattleTech. They're gunning for BattleTech, instead of on hex bases, they're on round bases. A little bit more dynamic. They seem to have the rules fleshed out, the miniature line fleshed out pretty good. So it's really going to be interesting to see what this Kickstarter does because the BattleTech Kickstarter, when they rebooted that whole line a few years back, it exploded.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
but that's IP though. That's the thing. Like,
Sure, but I mean, Modifius is no slouch either.
no,
It,
they have their own IP now, so it's like it's
Mhm.
it's really not about. I don't think it'd be like the BattleTech community like coming to it. I think it'd just be like Modifius supporters.
Mhm.
I mean, it could be some of both. I think there's definitely a market for it. Maybe it caps out at a quarter million. Maybe it goes, several million. I don't know. I'd like to see it do several million because that'd be funsies. But it's just always cool to see some different projects come out that might be a fresh take on something different. Yada yada yada.
Yep.
And then last but not least, there are not one but two humble bundles up that contain
Oh.
Warhammer products right now. The first is a huge RPG bundle. I think it's like $1,200 in RPG books for you get the whole thing for $40. There's Warhammer Fantasy, the OG. They've got Cyberpunk on there, a couple of the Renegade Studio stuff like GI Joe and Transformers, and I mean there's just a ton of titles on there. Half the stuff I don't even know or have heard of, but those ones stuck out to me. I was like, I can see where people would want this one. They sold a bunch of them already. And you can also get the Rogue Traders video game too over on Humble Choice. That's their monthly
Mhm.
subscription. I think it's $15. I remember, of course, a lot of this money goes towards charity. So maybe if there's a month that goes by that you're like, I don't know if I like this one stuff. At least half that money or so, I don't even remember, goes to charity. So it's still a worthwhile cause that might not necessarily trickle down in other places. So um, yeah, definitely some stuff to keep track of, and then probably this weekend we will see the Horse Heresy pre-orders finally be announced for July 12th, and then coming out the end of the month on the 26th. That's the word on the street, but I think folks are ready. I know I'm ready.
Mike Caspel, that
Yeah.
humble bundle just reminded me to tell you something because there's a bunch of books in it, and you're a book guy.
Yeah.
You're
Dude,
You read?
our
Humble
language.
Bundle Humble Bundle is my jam.
Mhm.
Like I adore it.
Yeah, you're a big fan. And it so reminded me. So I was at a library recently,
Ooh,
Ooh.
real one.
they still have this?
Yes.
Turns out they do. And I went in with my lady because it was they do a yearly like fundraiser where like they have a bunch of used books and they let you fill a basket up for $5,
That's awesome. That's
right?
tight.
And it's like a whole thing. It's like a Friday to Sunday, so the line is out the door. I'm like, what the fuck? Why are we here, man? There's a lot books. I was very,
Books?
very complainy and whiny about the whole situation. And she's just filling up a basket full of books for her kids at the school and stuff, mostly. Looking at some stuff that might be interesting. I'm like, this is so
Mhm.
dumb. I'm just standing around the corner, like kind of just looking at a box of nonsense in my eyes, right? And then I'm just like, well, I mean, what's that book? So I got a book, and
Hmm.
I actually got a book. I own a book,
Awesome.
and I know you'd be proud of me. I even read through the book while I was at the library,
Awesome.
and I got a book on how to smoke pipes.
Oh, very good. Very
But
cool.
I know how to smoke pipes. I own a pipe. But the
Mhm.
reason I wanted this book is because somebody is used. Somebody already read through the book and like circled and highlighted a bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
So like now I'm
In a
going.
library book. Absolute madman.
And so I'm looking through this book, and I'm like, I'm curious. Now I'm piqued because I'm like, what is the stuff that this guy found interesting enough to deface this book, right? And I'm looking through like at his notes, bro, like what he like found interesting. I'm like, bro, this actually is kind of interesting. And like there's words in this. This is like an old timey book, dude. Like
Mhm.
the like they'll say shit like where it's like, if you do something wrong, like you pack your pipe wrong, it's like this is a like a pipe smoker who packs their pipe wrong is a lazy pipe smoker. They'll say just like random shit like that. You know what I mean? Like just wild shit. And he circled all this like little tidbits, and I was like, this is actually it pretty relevant pipe smoking information.
Always packing 3.
Yeah, yeah. They talked about
Yep.
taking those first draws, like not. He's like, if you clench the pipe between your your teeth like a cigar, you're a savage. Like, and you disregarding the fine art of smoking pipe. I'm like, oh my god, I feel attacked. That's me. You know what I mean? And so I got this book, I brought it home, I read through all the little highlighted shit, immediately packed the pipe and smoked it the good way, and it was better.
Nice. Very cool.
That's first book I've bought in probably 20 years, dog.
Awesome. Which is not true, by the way. Kenny's being self-deprecating, but
No, like physically, like an actual
physical book, yes.
actual book in my hand that I
Yeah,
have
maybe.
to physically, like manually, like comprehend the words. Huh. Luckily, this guy highlighted it for me.
Yeah.
There was a time when you could trade reading books for real actual food.
Yeah,
Like at a Pizza Hut even.
bro.
Yeah, I do remember that.
You remember
Those
Pizza
days.
Hut salad bars, bro?
Oh yeah, the buffet with the breadsticks with the little seasoning chunks on them.
Mm-hmm.
We
Bacon
were
bits and shit.
kings once.
We were. We were.
How
What
much have we
happened?
lost?
Cowboy said, "An anointed pipe smoking book." I want to read it when you're done.
Uh,
All right, let's take a quick commercial break and let's jump into the topic tonight. We're running a little late. Bear with us.
It's mostly my fault. I can't read.
We got some good topics, some good show notes here on the subject of what wrong with 10th edition 40k. I like actually what you generated here for us. So let me just rip through these for you guys to dissect. I love the first one. Let's rip the band-aid off. What's the
Oh boy.
biggest design misstep in 10th edition? And it gives us a couple of like examples: index play, detachments, data slate overload. Like, for you, Mike Haspel, what would you consider the biggest design misstep in 10th edition?
honestly, I don't have that many notes for 10th edition. My biggest note would be that it's not like when I first played Horus Heresy, I was like, this is 40k. This is awesome, right? But really Horus Heresy is fixed 7th edition, which I adored. But for 10th edition, I really like how streamlined it is. I mean, I really enjoy it. Um, the biggest thing I would say is probably terrain rules. Like I've never to this day I've never fully grasped the terrain rules. They're just opaque,
Huh.
or I just ignore them. Like they're just one of the two, right? They're either I start reading the terrain rules and they're fucking 2 paragraphs long, and I'm just like, that's dumb. I just stop reading it, or and I just ignore it. So it's just like when I play, if we're not playing on ruins, it doesn't seem to matter. Like what the terrain is. You know what I mean? Unless you're playing like in a city in
So
ruins,
to your
it doesn't
point
matter.
earlier when I was asking for Q&A, is KR Quinter said it, he said terrain. It's just all ruins, bro. Come on, like what's going on here?
Yeah,
Right?
it's like
And
I miss the days of different, of woods and just difficult terrain and how stuff like that used to work. Dangerous terrain, you know. I miss that.
so I'd say like that's a good answer. Terrain. Like if
Yeah.
you distill it all down to like you're like, bro, terrain. Like, that's a good ass answer because like we've had terrain is a big part of the hobby. Big
Yep.
part, and it's been different every edition, and it matters differently every edition. And where we are, it's we've is with GW layout terrains, it's very clinical, very balanced, but it doesn't hit the same. I agree. Rob, how do you answer that?
Well, I was going to say something very similar. I think terrain rules are um not the same as what we were used to in previous editions. I want to say they almost invalidate certain units. Maybe that's the issue with flyers because they can always be seen. I don't know. Um, I think flyers are pretty cool personally, but I'm more like, hey, rule of cool now, now than anything. But um, the other thing that I think is a little difficult for people to grasp is that the rate at what, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but things change. We were talking in the pre-show. Imperial Knights have had basically 4 iterations of rules. If you start with the very first index cards that came out in rules till now, it's been a roller coaster ride for them and Custodies, to be honest with you. Yay, the 2 armies I actively play.
Sounds like your answer is
But
moving toward too much change too fast.
yeah, and I think the more, and maybe that's what they are looking for in the way that they, where we said that 6 was kind of anything goes. 10th edition is almost the opposite of that. Like it's almost like 10th edition was designed with tournament play specifically in mind so that it could be fine-tuned and constantly
Mhm.
adjusted and balanced,
Yeah.
which is not, I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad
No,
thing.
it's for you.
It
Answer with your own personal bias. Like, don't think about like, don't be a game
Me
analysis.
personally, Rob
Yeah,
Baer, I
don't be a
don't
game
like it.
analysis. Yeah, like it's
I
your
personally
perspective.
don't like it, because I've been to enough of these events that I don't think, it's almost like that it's time to bring the hobby back again in a lot of ways, because the it's meta listing, what's the stat check, what's the hot units, one plus saves was in the chat earlier making fun of knights, but in the same paragraph, in the same conversation to me about everything that's broken with them, he's like, yeah, I'm going to start playing knights. I was like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Oh,
And there's so much of that out there, that this is kind of what happened with 6th edition, is that people were just jumping so quick between armies that you didn't really have a chance to hobby on them and stuff. And for me, it's disappointing and not what I want out of a game. So I'm going to find something else to play more actively. And I think I probably, for 10th edition, I probably played this edition the least amount. And it didn't start out that way either.
mhm.
Yeah,
I think
here's a couple of community answers that kind of echo kind of like where you're at, your feelings, right? Kara Quinn, he came in, he said 2 detachments for me. Half never even seen the tabletop. Reshi Beat says detachments, the different play styles it offers are great, but poorly done. Seems like every book only has 1 or 2 worth playing. Kind of that dumbing down you're
mhm.
talking about, right? That overbalance. Furland says uh, the answer to the 10th design misstep, it's pretty general, but in line with Haspel, I think GW took a swing and a miss with stuff like detachment stratagems. Terrain is too far dumbed down. I personally feel like 8th was kind of a nice spot in terms of granular and how we could play and do army building, right? Like, so you like, I think you hit it on the head. It's like clearly designed for tournament and competitive play. And
Yeah.
because part of that is seasonal updating, seasonal balances,
Mhm.
season themes.
Hmm.
Like, so yeah, we're not to comment from an objective standpoint of like, obviously that's not bad. It's just there's
I do
something that
like
doesn't hit.
I do like the seasons and I do like the season themes, but they're executing it poorly.
Mhm. It's
Because when the new season hits and I can't get the cards,
That was
I can't
terrible.
play the new season.
yeah, well
So,
said.
Yeah, that's that.
but the
Yeah,
idea of it, the concept of it
Mhm.
is phenomenal.
Yeah,
I really like the
because if
concept of
yeah,
it.
and that's why I say like we have to just kind of go with our gut and our bias, because
hmm
like we'll end up all just saying the same thing because we all know the truth of objective game design. like yeah, like, but why is it not feel the same, right? We've been doing this since the beginning, and I don't know about you guys, but this is the least amount of 40k I've ever played.
That
Yeah,
that
same.
is true. That
You know what
is
I'm
true.
saying?
But I'm not blaming the addition for
Like
me.
I mean for you perhaps, but I mean for me and Rob for
But
sure. Like
but
it
you're
just
absolutely right. This is the least amount of 40k I've played since I started playing the game.
something doesn't hit the same.
No.
right? It doesn't hit the same it used to hit, even though I can see on paper that this edition is incredibly well crafted for what I love to do, which is go and play games and tournaments and shit. It doesn't hit the same. And for me, my answer would be simple. It's the scheming phase. That's why.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. It's the customization.
The scheming phase is where I spent is that obsessive fantasy, the fantasy phase, right? Like where we're fantasizing about playing. There's nothing in it. It's hollow. Like even though objectively I understand why it's such a good way of doing the game, like how we're doing these, like this is the unit, this is what it costs, put your war gear in. Like I'm like, yeah, genius. It's what's in the box. This makes sense. It's so fucking strong. But then as I'm like playing the actual hobby, like the thing I do the most, which is the mini game on my army builder app.
Yep.
I'm done in 2 seconds laying in bed. I'm like, damn, this used to be like something I did for 45 minutes before I fell asleep. But I've been like,
Oh, I would. We would sit there and daydream about combos. And I'm gonna do this, and what if I give my Wolf Lord this, and oh man, that'll be so sick. Oh wait, that might not work.
So let's move let's move to this next one, because this is kind of what you're talking about. So like this is 2 questions, and I think they're pretty good. I love this one. Did the removal of stratagem bloat? Right, that's something you've been vocal about not liking stratagems. Like when it first hit, you were like, "This is too much. I'd rather play without them." Remember? And but now we're in a place where the stratagems are very watered down compared to like when it dropped in 8th. The removal of stratagem bloat, did it go too far? Did we trade decision depth for blandness and army identity? And did the simplified data sheet format actually make things more accessible, or just hide complexity behind keywords and combos?
I'm in favor of not having the stratagem bloat. Because especially when was the last the team tournament, which was the last big event I went to, the team tournament in Vegas. I went
Vegas teams.
Right. When was that? Was 9th, right? 9th. That game, I felt like that whole weekend, I felt like it didn't matter what army I played. It just mattered what stratagems I had. We were playing Magic.
Oh, and there was some truth to that too.
That's fair.
We were playing Magic. We were like, okay, you have this combo of stratagems. It doesn't matter what I bring. It matters what combo of stratagems I have to counter your combo of stratagems. It doesn't matter what army I'm playing.
And that was the beginning of like kind of seasonal play. Remember, we got Nephilim, we got something else. Remember, they were manipulating it, so we kind of all knew what stratagems, what combos, what army specific secondaries. You know what I mean? Remember that? Like you kind of knew it had to be these, that you had to have access to this suite, or you were going to struggle.
Right. And I had a problem with it because I just didn't have the time to learn everybody's
That's when it began.
So I knew I knew my army, but I didn't know everybody's army.
But the thing is, since you didn't know that other stuff because it was evolving so fast, you knew your army, and then after like 2 games, you realized you didn't bring the right stuff.
Right.
And there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. 6 games and nothing you can do. Right.
Yeah.
And so, I see you. You're in favor of like you want so you still stand by the debloatification.
The way I see stratagems working, and this is not a popular view, right? Is that your army is your army, and your stratagem is something that you pull out to solve a puzzle. It shouldn't be the key to your army. It should be this is a tool I have because this unit has gotten itself into a situation, and I can deploy this to aid them out of that situation. And of course, you can set it up so that they can exploit that situation, right? You put them in there on purpose so you can exploit it. But I don't think it should be I'm playing this army because they get these strategies.
Because this plus this equals this. That's not your actual
right. That I don't think the game should be.
And 8th, that's what happened in 8th. 8th got hella gangster, right? Remember by the end of 8th, like it was just like ridiculous. Then 9th, I think watered it down. You know, they started watering it down a little bit, but with all the secondaries and everything, it started getting wild. But 10th, and so now a lot of the combos are and so the other question, which I think is part of this, is the simplified data sheet format. Did it actually make it more accessible, or did it just hide complexity behind keywords and combos? Right. So like they brought universal special rules back. We've got keywords, right? So there's still a degree of complexity there.
I think it simplified stuff. I think it made things easier for people to get into. Um, I there's I like the keywords, but then again, I like universal special rules. I like that kind of feel, right? The one thing I will say about stratagems, though, that I don't like in 10th is even though they're simplified, they kind of removed all the army flavor.
Yep.
Like everyone has the same stratagems now, which that's fine. If everyone's going to have the same stratagems, don't name them all different crap, right? Just have the same stratagems.
And that's why the community kind of has, we've kind of named ourselves like blood surges and,
right.
like, so
Right.
like, yeah, you're right. Like, so,
Because you don't need to name it like some special name when every army has that same
Yep.
strategy. Just name it that stratagem.
yeah, don't get
That's it.
cute with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
you
so,
don't need to get
so your answer is kind of like yes and no. Like it's both. It's like, yeah, like it actually, I'm in favor of the direction, but like you're right, it did kind of take some of the blandness away, like,
right.
or added blandness to it. Like,
It added blandness.
Yeah.
It added blandness because when I'm sitting across from an opponent and they go, "I'm going to use this stratagem," and they name it because that's the name they know, and I go, "Oh, what does that do?" And they say what it is, and I'm like, "Bro, I have the same stratagem. Like, why are we calling it something different?" You know what I mean? Just say, "Hey, I'm
Yeah.
doing this."
how do you feel about the stratagem uh, direction we've gone, Rob?
I feel like there's a little bit more different ones because and they're tied to specific, detachments. I don't feel like there's as many that are the same thing that do, now, but that do the same or similar. There's some, of course, but I think for the most part, having them locked into playing a certain detachment is good because there's some that definitely like if they weren't in that detachment, they would see more play, and that's probably not in a good way. You know what I mean? So I'm okay. I'm okay with the stratagems, the attachments for the most part. Um, I think they're watered down enough that it isn't as big of a deal as it was in previous editions.
Yeah. Um, I've got a few a few questions under the subject of player experience, the feel of 10th. I think Haspel might speak to this. What did 10th edition do to unit identity? Did every army feel more did every army feel more similar, or was there still uniqueness hiding under the hood?
I think there's still uniqueness. Granted, in 10th, I've only played Grey Knights and Necrons, and they play similar but different. It's kind of weird. Like when the Necrons came out, I was just like, "What? They're ripping off Grey Knight rules. This is an outrage, right?" But they play different. It's still fun and everything. But the Grey Knights, the way I play them anyway, is I don't actually start playing the game until turn 3. Like I don't and that's not entirely true. It's not that I'm not playing turn 1 and 2. It's that the scenario hasn't shaped itself to where I can start forming things on the battlefield until turn 3. I think Grey Knights win in the end game, right? It's a puzzle. It's kind of that's why I like playing Grey Knights. It's kind of a chess puzzle. By turn 3 you start to see the chess puzzle,
Yeah,
and
so
you're
they
like,
do
okay,
play with highly different identities.
yeah. But Necrons win in the early game.
Yep.
It's different that way. At least the way I play them. It's like if by turn 3 I don't have a solid plan and a solid like I don't have my opponent on the ropes per se, right? With Necrons, by turn 3, I'm in trouble. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna lose this game, right? Whereas with Grey Knights, I'm like, oh, it's turn 3, N- time to take the gloves off. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's like now you will understand why. It's like why you fear the night.
Yeah, no, that's honestly, I agree. Like, despite some of the blandness and negative topics or negative statements we made previously, like, I do agree. Despite all that, like, I do feel like there's a lot of unique identity, even though, they give us a ton of detachments and only like 2 are really good. They still feel really unique and fun. And I do feel that most armies play different. I have seen a highest degree of player expression, like as far as like faction representation, out of any edition I've ever experienced. Uh,
Yeah, that's true.
so
I will go along with that. Like you see, I haven't gone to any major events for 10th, but even at the local store, you don't see the same armies.
mhm,
And even when you do see the same
they're
armies, they're
very
not the
different.
same build.
And that is a big, win for the 10th edition
Mm-hmm.
rollout. Is that's something we've always craved, bro. Something we've always talked about. And there's a lot of like expression in that way, even though like how we express it in the scheming phase is a little watered down. You know, it does kind of feel like across 100 armies, they're all very different, with some
Yeah.
exceptions, obviously. But you know, Rob, how about you? How do you feel about the subject of identity in 10th edition?
I I I I think I think it's been a little off the mark for some factions, like Grey Knights, maybe Death Guard early on, maybe Demons early on. Um, but it seems like they're kind of dialing it in now. But I mean, I know a lot of people that played those factions who were just like when they saw the rules and they're just like, "What is this?" You know, like, and
Yeah, well,
nobody wants to see that. Like the fundamental ways that you play your army are changed.
yeah, Grey Knights changed 1,000% from the
Yeah,
way they
so
played
like
before.
I don't know what that was about. It doesn't. It's like sometimes you just question the decisions if they're being made for the player base or they're being made for behind the scenes for GW for whatever reason. And I feel like a lot of the decisions of 10th were not of value to the average player, the thousand or so competitive folks that grind out these events week after week, month after month. I think it's more geared towards them. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, um, to both of you, Haspel, if you were to redesign 11th from the ground up, just first give me the first rule, the first and one rule right out the gate. What would you try to change or remove or edit or add?
The number one thing I would change for 11th would be the ability to purchase a la carte rules in the app.
I like that.
Mm.
You went outside the rules. You said, "Oh, fuck the rules. Like the rules are the rules. Let me buy them a la carte, bro." Good answer, dude.
And it's doable too, because even G Dub said today there's going to be downloadable, rule supplements and things for Horus Heresy, which they've had the whole time, but you can't get them for 40k. It's frustrating.
Funny, some people in chat are talking about activating activations, and that's actually one of the questions I didn't get to
Mm.
tonight. Was
Ah,
alternating turn structure starting to feel stale in 10th? Would you want to see a more interactive phase in 11th? That's actually a question I glossed over. And it's funny, a few people in chat were like, it seems like they want
You
that'd be
know,
their answer to that question would be like a interactive phase.
Horus Heresy had a great response for that, where
oh
you had
yeah,
I don't remember what they're called, but you had basically like two or three activations that you could interrupt the other guy
yep,
and go. And it was great because it wasn't a you go I go and it wasn't a we go. It was you're going to do your move and then I have a certain
Yeah, reactions.
amount of chances to react, right? And interrupt your flow. But it's not I can't do it all the time and I have to use them strategically, right? So
yep.
I thought that was phenomenal. I adored that in Horus Heresy.
Hmm.
Yeah, and thing is, we have elements of that in 40k, as One Plus says, mentioned like blood surges, reactive moves, and he says they keep the game interesting, heroic interruption. So like, it's funny
Yep.
that we have stratagems and rules and like abilities that kind of do that. And it is pretty interesting because you do have to think about it. So it
Mm-hmm.
would be interesting, and that's a good answer, chat, to bring to it. Something that chat response would be, as we
Mm-hmm.
just stated. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, Rob,
I
if you
think
had to pick
I
something.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see more customization. Um, I think some folks in chat were saying that it's hard. Like you hit a certain point, so you lose the whole squad, or you gain something, and that's with knights. That's a tough one. Because they're so chonky, so you have to start looking at allies and things like that. So I get it, and I think like you were saying earlier, cracking out to the scheming phase is what a lot of people want.
Go back to how it used to be. That'd be my answer.
I don't know if exactly
Let me
that,
buy a
but
7-man squad of Space Marines. Like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like,
there needs to be some middle ground. I
like,
feel like
it wasn't
because
broke. They didn't need to fix it. It literally wasn't broken.
no,
They didn't need to fix it.
and I'm not sure.
They
I'm not sure what that looks like, but it needs to come back.
And as Kara Quinn said, and he's echoing One Plus he's like 10th has some of that. Overwatch, Blizzards. So this could be an example of how, like, okay, so some armies have like unique access to that.
Yeah,
And we like that they're unique, but this could be a set of rules that is universal, right? A set of options that everyone has access to as an
Right.
11th
Mhm.
edition option, right? Could be
You can
really
even
fun
tie
to
it
see.
to the command points, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a universal
Still could be a
stratagem that people
resource.
get that is like bang. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I go now. You know what I mean?
We
like,
all have access to Overwatch, but not Blood Surges. Not, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So like it'd be kind of interesting. Yeah.
Exactly.
But ultimately, like when you look at it at the end of the day, we also have to comment on, it's there's still things that we can bring from 10th to 11th. Right? Like, so it's not crap. Like, we've had the biggest
No,
tournament in the history of mankind. 10th edition, 1,000 players. It's round 1, LVO, 2020,
Yeah.
2025. Like, so if we can learn something about 10th, and I would say probably has to do with, as much as we talked about it earlier, we're like, this is too hard. There's something that Rob didn't like, something that Hasper didn't like, is the seasonal play. That's probably one of the reasons why it's popping. Popularity's there because for as many people as like us who are like, okay, it's the least amount of 40k I've ever played. I meet people all the time, through my painting classes, who are like, they haven't ever even played another edition. Just this.
Right. Yeah.
They're like, this is hype. This is amazing.
I actually think the game is in a pretty good place. I just wish that they got to fix their supply problems. They got to fix that. That's
yeah.
a killer. And
The optics sometimes.
And I feel like there are redheaded stepchildren among armies, right? Where some get, and Space Marines are going to get preferential treatment. I mean, that's always going to happen, right? But it's like other armies like the Death Watch or whatever get neglected. They get screwed over.
That was also in our show notes too, about like the removal of like chapters and sub chapters, and more blanket overlay. Play what you want. Colors don't the colors you paint them. But that was under the identity subsection.
Yeah,
that we
I think so too.
But yeah, we talk about. I mean, this is honestly a semi-normal conversation for this crew. Like, anyone listening to this on their drive to work, this is like a normal Tuesday afternoon conversation for us. We talk about this all the fucking time to each other. Like, this is hella normal, dude. We've been playing this game since the beginning. You know what I mean? Like, it's like we got guys in this podcast who have like that. You have that first Space Hulk box, right?
I do.
Like, you know what I mean?
That's
I do too.
It's sad. It's.
I mean, it's
just... Hey, Haspel, did you know that the time span between 1985 and 1945 was the same as 1985 and 2025?
That's not true.
That's not true.
That's that. Luckily for you, I can't do math.
Yep. I just say nope. That's not my truth.
But I would. My final remarks on the subject to Kara Quinn. He says, "I hope 11th is not a complete reset and they just tweak it." My final remarks on the subject will be: if they follow the trend, it will not be a total reset. It will just be a tweak, because that's kind of what they've been doing. They drop a reset, hit a tweak, drop a reset, hit a tweak. That's kind of the rhythm they've established, and I believe that they're going to keep moving forward with that, right? So, expect like the 9th edition of of 8th edition. How 9th was like, oh shit. I expect 11th to be the 9th edition of 10th. Like how that felt. So anyway, good show, guys. Mike, what
Yeah.
you got for us?
We've got to stop them. I was kidnapped by space aliens 10 years ago. They did all kinds of experiments on me. They've been studying us for years and trying to find out our weaknesses, and we've got to stop them. They're going to kill us all.
Yeah, that's it for this one, y'all. Thanks for watching. We'll be back again next week. I think we got a special guest lined up for that one too. So make sure to head on over to thelongwar.net for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today.